Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat. My name is always Asmal. This is a show where we talk about career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. So, for those listening on the podcast on Apple or on Spotify, please leave a rating for the podcast. Now, if you're joining us live, drop a one in the comments so that I know I'm not talking to myself, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. My guest for this week is Suraj Ramlall, a senior corporate finance executive at a global professional firm. Suraj, thanks so much for joining me today.
Anyways, thanks so much for having me.
Let's jump straight in. Tell us your story. Where do you come from? And even outside of work, who is Suraj Ramlall? Give us the backstory.
Cool. So I'm from Durban originally. Been around SA a bit. So studied in Cape Town at UCT. Did my articles in Cape Town at PwC. Uh, did secondment in Chicago for a bit for 4 months just before COVID, and then made the trip back to Cape Town once COVID hit Chicago. So then I worked as an FM at an insurer in Cape Town for 8 months or so before I made the change to corporate finance in June 2021. So been in corporate finance and in Joburg since June 21, so around 3 years now. Um, and other than that, yeah, I'm happily married. I enjoy traveling a lot. Enjoy watching some football. Big Man United fan. Dog person. A foodie now and again. So yeah, I like the nice things in life, you can say.
Other than watching the soccer, what else do you do on the weekend?
If I'm not trying to cook a new dish for my wife, maybe playing some PlayStation, reading a book, catching up with some friends in Joburg. Fairly chill stuff, to be honest.
Playing PlayStation. You definitely don't have kids because there's no time.
Yeah, good guess.
For those of us who are uninformed, what does someone in corporate finance actually do? Can you give us a somebody?
So the term is quite broad, but generally it's dealing with unlisted and listed corporates, all the way from either raising capital to running a merger and acquisition sort of transactions, either on the sell side or the buy side. Uh, the space I'm in is more of the advisory space or transaction advisory space. So we sort of obviously bid for our work in terms of the clients that we get. It's nothing is recurring unless it's like doing annual evaluations or stuff like that. But basically, what we do is the full suite of corporate finance activities from M&A to cap raising to financial due diligence, independent valuation reviews, fair and reasonable opinions for listed clients. So yeah, the work is quite interesting. It's very sector agnostic. So you can probably work in across a broad range of sectors from financial services to manufacturing to fintech to private equity. So I think that's what keeps it interesting and fresh for me personally. And just from my point of view, I mean, I was always keen on getting into corporate finance after articles. I may have to go a bit longer to get there, but I think the main point from that is, look, if you feel like you're passionate on something, or if you want to do something and you're really keen on something, don't stop pursuing it, no matter what sort of obstacles come in your way. I mean, perseverance is the key to being a CA. Not everyone obviously goes through the same journey, so you just got to do what you got to do to get to where you want to be and to do what you want to do, basically.
And for the accountants or even the young professionals out there who are interested in joining the corporate finance industry, what do you recommend is the best pathway to get there?
Look, so there's lots of various streams, I guess. I mean, most people or most CAs obviously do articles and then try and get into corporate finance post articles, or even get into sort of top programs at banks or investment banks to get in that route. Um, but there's various different avenues. I mean, my route was obviously via articles, becoming a CA, and then getting into the door after getting some exposure to obviously, uh, let's say, valuations and other sort of stuff during articles. I think also showing an interest in the space and knowing what's it about, what sort of skills you need to actually get involved into, like understanding how to do evaluation, some financial modeling. Acumen is good as well. Good Excel skills, as most CAs do have, coming from audit in any case. But you're just showing some keen interest in the space, some understanding of how the bigger macroeconomic and microeconomic sort of picture affects entities that you would be advising, and just adding value to your clients in that sense.
Okay, okay. So I mean, it sounds like you can go from it from many different ways.
Yeah.
Now, a very important question. You started working in 2017 and you will, I mean, you made it to senior executive level at a global firm in 7 years. Now, my question is, how are you able to do that so fast? I think it took me like 15 years to get there. So tell us, give us the secret sauce.
So obviously the 7 years are split between 3 years of articles and then let's say working at two other companies before I joined Mazars in 2021. Well, we've rebranded now to Forward Mazars, so that's the firm I'm at. But yeah, basically, look, I think networking as well as just dealing with people is sort of the main sort of skills you can build as a CA. I mean, yeah, we have technical acumen, we all understand numbers and the sort of stuff that you kind of assume as accountant to be good at. But I think building a repertoire with your clients, with your team, with the people you work with is far vastly outweighs the sort of technical skill that you bring to the table. It's a bit of balance between both. But I feel like soft skills go a long way in both personal life and in your career. I mean, my thing is uh, you have to be sort of on the ball both technically and soft skill wise as well to sort of build a network of clients in terms of winning work, build your network at your actual workplace in terms of getting your name out there, doing good work on projects, sort of networking with your execs and your directors as well. So it's a whole balance of things I would say, Ways, but at the end of the day, it's just putting your best foot forward and applying your mind to everything that you do.
Uh, okay, and that networking thing is key. I must keep that in mind for those listening. For the audience, we'll be responding to questions towards the end, so please add your questions to the comment section now so that we don't miss them. At the beginning, you briefly mentioned that you spent some time working overseas.
Yeah.
Where were you based, and what was that experience like?
So this was from Jan 2020 to April 2020. I was actually based in Chicago in the US. It was very cold, very snowy, but it was also my first time experiencing snow and probably that amount of cold weather. But for me, it was a good experience. I mean, traveling on my own, trying to sort stuff out on my own when I got there, uh, being stuck there during COVID as well was fairly interesting. Um, I'm not sure if you remember during early COVID days, the repatriation flights from foreign countries back to SA. So I wasn't one of those. So yeah, I think it was a good learning opportunity, a good growth opportunity personally and professionally as well. I really recommend traveling and experiencing working abroad at some point in your career. It broadens your mindset. It also helps you work and assimilate with different work cultures, different people, and that only improves you as a professional going forward. So.
Did you plan on only going for 4 months, or was it the longest? Was it supposed to be a longer
So
stay?
it was meant to be around 18 months, but obviously COVID cut that short. So initially I was planning to stay there for the full 18-month period, but again, COVID happened. I came back, but again, I think I came back, so I got no complaints. I mean, I got married in the time I came back to SA. Um,
It worked out.
I had some good work experience, so yeah, both professionally and personally, I think it was a good move.
And then you also mentioned you had a stint as a financial manager. So somebody
Yeah.
who's looking to get into corporate finance, how come you took that step? And what were your learnings from that stint?
So I think the FM role, I would say, I think out of articles, I kind of knew I didn't want to be in FM, but obviously coming back from Chicago in a COVID environment where, let's say, hiring was frozen and opportunities were scarce, I didn't want to sort of stagnate my growth and not learn in any way or form that I could. So, for instance, during that time, while I was still looking for a job before the FM role, I was doing financial modeling courses. I did a certification called FMVA, which is just financial modeling and valuation, sort of short course to get you sort of practical skills in that sense. So that showed my interest in corporate finance. And then the FM role was just obviously very financial reporting based. It was insurance, so very, very sort of complex technical sort of accounting and stat reporting with to SARP and stuff like that. But obviously, dealing with stakeholders, dealing with CFOs, your execs, all that sort of experience builds upon what you do in corporate finance. I mean, generally, you'd only be dealing with CFOs, CEOs, and directors when you're running a deal or working on a deal or advising on a deal. So all that experience isn't really lost, So dealing with stakeholders, managing tight deadlines, I think no matter what sort of role you're in, you're always experiencing those sort of aspects. So they just build upon what you doing corporate finance, and I believe they helped me, in my job on a daily basis. So whether or not it was starting off with an FM and pivoting to corporate finance, I think the skills you learn, regardless of where you are and whatever role you are, can be transferable across the board.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, you also now touched on it in your answer, but I noticed on your LinkedIn profile you've done quite a few online courses, some
Yeah.
corporate finance courses, some courses on LinkedIn. Which ones would you recommend most for the audience?
Look, so I think if you want to get into corporate finance, understanding the different types of valuations, how to build a valuation model, how to model a financial model on Excel is key. Uh, Good Excel skills as will also help. I mean, apart from your usual VLOOKUPs and stuff that you do in audit, I mean, there's other stuff that you're gonna be using a lot, like data analysis, so Power BI, Power Query, on your financial due diligences. But yeah, I think Excel and just some sort of understanding of what financial modeling is, how to build models from scratch, and understanding how valuations work as well is quite key.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And so that FMVA course that you did, who was that through? Was that through the CFA
That
Institute?
was via an institute called the Corporate Finance Institute. So it's
Okay,
basically almost a 6-month course. But the nice thing about it, it's fully online and you can kind of work at it at your own pace. So I actually finished in 3 months because I was unemployed at the time. But yeah, so it's very flexible and it's very practical, which I found quite useful. Like I know CFA is more or less geared towards asset management, which is something I wasn't really wanting to get into. But again, I think any sort of certification or professionalization is worth its weight in gold if you are keen on it and if you think it will help you progress in the career you want, basically.
and just again, sorry, on those courses, if you finish within the 3 months, do you get that certificate, or do you still have to wait the whole period?
You know, you get
And
the
what
certificate as soon as you're done with the
what are we
3 months.
talking cost-wise, ballpark, around about for things like that?
This is probably from like 3 years ago away, so it might be a bit outdated. But I think I spent in rand terms around 8,000 rand or so
Okay,
on the
so
course.
that gives somebody a good idea of what the courses cost. Okay, no,
Yeah.
that's appreciated. I don't see any questions coming through, so I assume you've answered all the questions in our discussion. This is one question I like to ask all my guests. What is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
My younger self, it's a bit tough. I don't think I'm that old yet, right? But okay.
Says the
um,
executive.
I think, look, it's always being open to learning and pushing yourself to try new things. And obviously, yeah, you might feel at some point, why do I have to do X, Y, and Z? I've learned enough, I've done enough. But the thing is, learning is continuous, and knowledge gained is never knowledge that's wasted. So I think whether it's reading a book or doing a course or just doing something new every day to sort of keep your mind fresh and awake, I think that's quite key to me, and I think it's quite useful to have in both the personal and professional sense.
I think that's great advice. Any last few words from you, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know, even corporate finance related or whatever else related?
No, I think from my side we touched on most of the points I had in mind and mentioned, especially during persevering during COVID, being open to learning, and probably how to get your foot in the door if you're keen on corporate finance and what you can do. So as I mentioned, some keen interest in valuations, understanding how they work. Financial modeling is good to know and good to have, and just showing a passion and a keenness to get involved in the industry and put your head down and work. So yeah.
I think that's a great way for the show to end. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Suraj, thank you so much for your time.
Cool. Thanks, Avis. Cheers, man. Have a good one.
Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.